jab, uppercut, leave you laid out on the floor. Try to duck and roll, hit and miss, now you counting stars. Should've practiced more, should've hit the mask, get out there more. Claim that you're the best. You gotta show me, son. Actions over words, baby boy. Is you real or what? Talking way too much, world combat sports. Talking way too much, world combat sports. Talking way too much, world combat sports.
Yo, shout out to the hottest chat in the MF game, A Side Official. No negotiations needed, period. You know, we back in the building with another one. We have some miscellaneous topics as always, man. You know, we want to talk about the range shrinkage. Okay, humor or malicious bias. Berlanga, a must-win versus Sherazz. And you know the rest. WCS Boxing Talk live. So let's get down to like the simple stuff first. Okay, if you haven't already heard, pretty sure you have. Hamzat Sherazz. Is he in one of the bigger fights in his career that's pretty much a could be cornerstone for him? Yeah, definitely. Because even though a lot of people talk about him, he doesn't have the fan base yet. There's a lot of people that like Sherazz, but they just waiting on him to have a performance. You know? Berlanga, on the other hand, he's fighting in his backyard once again. Turkey appeased him. Turkey said, cool. You know, I'll give you the fight in your backyard because you do have a fan base there. And the rest is up to you. Sherazz 21-0-1. Berlanga 23-1-0. His only loss coming to Canelo Alvarez. This is going to be at the Louis Armstrong Stadium, Queens, y'all. I heard this is like trying to freaking pretty much get to the Bermuda Triangle by foot. For real. That's what I heard that it's like to get to the, Louis Armstrong. And when you get there, you're not going to hear any trumpets playing. You're going to hear yourself breathing and your heart pumping. I heard it's not as easily accessible to if you was going to MSG. Just walking across the street after you finish a nice hearty meal at the local, eateries or the bodega. You just walk across the street of Manhattan and go on up in there and you're good. I heard this may require you to use your compass. And you better make sure the updates are where they're supposed to be. But anyway, this is a tricky fight. This is very tricky. Both fighters have like their own path to get where they've been. Sherazz had a controversial draw against Carlos Adames, right? And a lot of people, including myself, believe he lost that fight. Then you look at him moving up. Okay, he's moving up to 168. A lot of his fans are saying, okay, this should be a division where he looks better because he moved up in weight from 160 to 168. So he should perform better. As for Edgar Berlanga, not so much. Now, see, the story gets a little tricky with Berlanga. But first, let me acknowledge those in the chat, man. Shout out to Arnold Brown in the building. What's good with it? Blue Hustle in the building. Salute to you. Blue said it don't matter what the ring size is when it comes to Shakur. For sure, we're gonna get to that next. Said, hope everyone had a great 4th of July. Shout out to Toby Bartlett, man. You know what I'm saying? Salute to you. And prayers, man. Hope all is well your way. You know what I'm saying? Hope you're doing better, man. No doubt. I'm okay with Shakur and Shakur not being the main event. And we will get back to the task at hand, the main event, which is Shakur Stevenson. If you get my drift. So with Edgar Berlanga and Hamza Sherazz is going down this weekend, right? It's going down this weekend. It's on the zone pay-per-view. For Edgar Berlanga, in my opinion, man, with his fan base and his following that he has over there in NYC, I think it's more of a win that he needs. He needs to prove to the people that, hey, first of all, I mean, we understand your potential. We've been having your back, but you lost against the biggest fight of your career against Canelo Alvarez. So we need you to come in here and stamp this. We need you to come in here and just leave no doubt that you are a worthy contender and you can beat the best opposition outside of Canelo Alvarez. This the stamp he needs to put on Hamza. You know, he definitely need to go in there and make that case. Sherazz, if he beat Edgar Berlanga, he would have did what Canelo's been able to do. And plus, it sets him up for bigger fights moving forward. I just hope the fight isn't sleepy. I really hope the fight gives us what we need, what we want. Like I said before, Sherazz is not such a big name over here in the U.S., but of course, Berlanga has much more lens time, much more familiarity when it comes to the U.S. boxing fans. And that's why the barometer is much higher for Berlanga to go ahead and get this done. He has to go get this done. Berlanga has to go get it done, bro. You know, all the talk. He has to go get it done. He has to turn the corner and go in there and prove to the people that Sherazz is not on his level. He needs to make this a Caleb Plant McCumbee fight. You know what I'm saying? It needs to be a David Benavidez, David Morrell fight. It needs to be a fight that can remain in people's conversation more than an hour after the fight. That's what we need from these two guys. They're the main event. They're not the most achieved or the most accomplished on the card. But I guess, you know, I mean, I'm not going to dive into it. You know, I'm about to get into that aspect and why I believe that they're the main event. You know, and one of it could be, you know, Berlanga has a big following over there and they want tickets to sell. And Berlanga has proven he can do that. Real talk. He's proved that he can do that. But I just wanted to put it out there that at the end of the day, this is a 12-round fight where, you know, both fighters really need to show that they're much bigger than just stepping in there with certain fights, and they need help from, you know, like Sherazz. A lot of people say he got help from Turkey Al-Sheikh. Berlanga, he couldn't get no help against Canelo Alvarez. So, you know, he's really trying to prove to the people that he is who they say could be, or his potential touts him to be. He hasn't shown us that. He hasn't shown us that yet, man. So we can only wait and see what's up. I don't know, man. I'm still like looking at it. Like it's not that bad to be on the main event ticket sales, but definitely is not the main event. It could have been Shakur and William Cepeda for sure, but I can see where the boxing is a business, and this is one of those cases where the person that can bring in the most tickets, you know, is Berlanga. You know, to some people and what they're saying. Shout out to Smoke Entertainment. Salute to you. Let's transition over to the more bigger fight than what people saying. This is a championship fight. This is a true 12 round championship showcase with Shakur Stevenson and William Zepeda. Of course, Shakur Stevenson, the Olympian silver standard champion, he's going in there with the fighter who has gained, a little bit more fame by being ranked in all the sanctioning bodies, right? And then, he has earned fame by, being a 3-weight world champion, also holding the current WBC World Championship at lightweight division. But he's ran into a fog, the fog of expectations and potential. I'm not saying Shakur ain't lived up to his potential. I'm not. It's just these disloyal, these agitated, disgruntled fans who 1 minute they rocking with you heavy, and the next minute, it's pure blown up criticism. We all know heading into this fight, Shakur had a situation with Turki Al-Sheikh, and he said some things. He said towel boys and this, that, and the other. And he said, you can take me off the fight. Well, due to cooler heads that was able to communicate to Shakur, they said, hey, man, you need to go ahead and make this right, bro. This is not what you want. You don't want this. Man, you need to go out here and get this money. You're making a nice paycheck. You need to go get this money. And look, it's a good and the bad. Yeah, it's good, Shakur speaking up for himself and telling the people that he thought he should be main event. On the other hand, Turki is proving that, yeah, you can come back and apologize and kiss the ring, but he's still gonna put you on timeout. And I think that's one of the reasons why Shakur is the co-feature and not the main feature. I don't know. I just know there's been several fighters who have said something to Turki Al-Sheikh, which, I'm talking about the fighters who actually end up fighting on this card. And he has kind of like semi-subliminally punished him. People need to pay attention to how he does business. We've seen it with Ryan Garcia. We've seen it with Teofimo Lopez. We've seen it with Shakur Stevenson. I'm not going to talk too much on what my assumptions are. That's just. But on the card itself, we also have Alberto Puello and Subriel Matias. They're fighting on that card. That's a championship fight. So it's regardless of the venue, the fight card is pretty decent. You know what I'm saying? You have a Puello 24-0 and Matias 22-2. Also, you have David Morrell, yo. I was going for David Benavidez when he fought Morrell, but I became like a fan of David Morrell on how he performed. I felt he improved. I felt he did improve tremendously. So I was like, man, he all right. He's been working. Morrell's been working. So when he go in there against Katiev, 10-0, if that's how you pronounce his name, 10-0, I'm expecting him to, show out. I believe that Dave Morrell is more talented than Edgar Berlanga, in my opinion. Why am I comparing them? I wish they would. I always push for them fighting each other when he was at 168, when David Morrell was at 168. And he had way less fights than Edgar Berlanga, but people was like, oh man, Morrell only got this many fights, man. Berlanga don't want to fight him. No, he's a dangerous fighter, bro. But yeah, it's a pretty decent card, to be honest. But this is my take on Shakur Stevenson. Let me read you a short, brief article on what they said. WBC lightweight champion Shakur Stevenson confesses William Zepeda is a puncher machine like no one else he's fought. So Shakur is somewhat recognizing that Zepeda is going to be a very challenging opposition. he really don't go into detail to how challenging. He do recognize verbally that he's a punching machine like no other fighter he's ever faced. Okay. So he's taking the performances that Cepeda had against Tevin Farmer and saying, yo, I see this guy has an engine on him. Now, one thing is also known about Shakur is that he relished in the moment and reminding people he get hit the less. Could this just be Shakur Stevenson saying, you know what? I gotta promote the fight. I don't really want to crap on Cepeda, but I really get hit the least. I'm really confident in my defense. Yeah, he did that against Tevin Farmer, but me and Tevin Farmer are two different fighters. The article says Shakur Stevenson admits that he's fighting a stone cold killer on July 12th in his chief support about against William Cepeda in Queens. New York WBC lightweight champion Stevenson has stopped bragging and finally confessed that he's facing a punching machine. Shakur's hand issue. He knows that Cepeda is on another level than he is offensively. So he's saying, remember, this is bias coming from, this is bias coming from Boxing News 24. So he's saying that he punches harder and can knock him out. However, what little power Shakur had when he was fighting 126 and 130 didn't carry over when he moved to 135. Moreover, his brittle hands make it even tougher for him to generate power. Hence, we're seeing Shakur throw to the body more because this is an area where fighters with fragile hands can throw at to provide a cushion to allow them to avoid re-injuring their hands. This is what I'll say about body punches. You have ribs, and also you have fighters who defend body shots also. Like I said, this is just one of those bias columns that's trying to say Shakur is going to punch to the body to save his hands. But fighters, they'll tell you if you attempt to crack somebody, hook somebody to the body, and you hit their elbow, it hurts. You can injure your hand cracking to the body, but going to the body is much more of a difficult punch placement than stab jab, or just straight up, touch them up top with the jab. Power shots. Look, your glove is to protect the hands. Okay. If you hit somebody in the skull, you're gonna feel it, especially with no gloves on. So either way it goes, if you're trying to hook to the body or a punch to the body, of course the solar plexus might feel a little different than you hooking to the left or right, ribs. And if you don't hit their arm from them, being defensively minded, like it says, you might be able to have some longevity if you have bad hands. It goes on to say, moreover, his brittle hands make it even tougher for him to generate power. Hence, we're seeing Shakur throw to the body more. Okay. I mean, that's speculation. It says Cepeda's nonstop punching threat. I'm fighting against the beast in the division. This guy's 33-0, 27 knockouts. He's a cold killing machine. He doesn't stop punching a guy he doesn't stop punching a guy that has been waiting for the moment, says Shakur to ring. It's good that Shakur knows that he's up against what he's up against July 12th. You'll hate to see him charging straight into a massacre without having properly scouted what he's dealing with and fighting a punching machine like Cepeda. Now, I'm not going to go too in detail of this article because it's extremely, biased. I'm going to be honest with you, but I just wanted to read you a couple of paras because just so you can, get an understanding of how people are thinking, especially over there. They're way off the scale when it comes to the biasness. I will take you to a different article that was mentioned about Shakur Stevenson. Hold on for a second. Okay, this was another article on Sports Illustrated. He said Mayweather made it clear on who is more skilled between, Gervonta Davis and Shakur Stevenson. Okay, it said Davis is known for his devastating knockout prowess. The WBA lightweight champion, who he is, his record. Stevenson, meanwhile, is the WBC titleist at 135. He has 23 wins with 11 by KO. Floyd once gave his verdict on who's the better fighter between the pair, claiming Davis is the hardest hitter at lightweight, but Stevenson is the more skilled. Now, how this is important is that skill is definitely going to play a role for Shakur. A lot of people believe 360 technically, Shakur should be the more skilled fighter. Factoring in that he does have bad hands, will William Cepeda be able to exploit any of it? Because with those fragile hands, Shakur has been also on record, like I said earlier, he's been on record to get hit the least. So with the amount of punches that he landed on Tevin Farmer, it's not too many fight fans believe that will happen with Shakur. Now, this is one of my concerns, okay? When you are taking a fighter's performance, two performance where he went 22 rounds. You look at and you try to determine who's the primary source for running. What fighter was the initial template for somebody to raise a brow and say, because they did criticize Shakur for having some boring fights with Jeremiah Nakathila, Toka Conklari, and Edwin De Los Santos, right? But you hear ring size come into play. I've heard that some people try to act like one person, the one who came up with it. Listen to me now. Who is responsible for this? They if you go back way back in the day, and Bruce knows this, they say Willie Pep once won a round without throwing a punch. Was he running or he was just being defense? I don't know. But there's an article out there that says Shakur Stevenson hit and run tactics challenged by 18-foot ring versus Cepeda. Now we have the size of the ring coming to play, because obviously it's a talking point that's saying, oh, no more running. We don't want no more running. What it does is places limitations on what a fighter's natural ability in the art of war and combat. It basically prevents them from doing natural, allowable, legal tactics. And that is being defensively sound. That is being attentive, offensive and defense. When you start implementing running, how has running affected certain fights to the point where a promoter or someone like Turki Al-Sheikh has lost money because of it? We know to be true that Turki Al-Sheikh has not lost any money off trying to engage this running tactic. He lost no money. The fights he's tried to put, he has put on over here was his own doing, and he planned them the way he planned them. And just because, people love talking about money, but yet they can't do that with Turki Al-Sheikh, so be it. But to all of a sudden, for Turki Al-Sheikh's presence to be here, to see him ringside doing what he does, y'all know what I'm talking about. If this man was a promoter, people will be outside protesting, talking about the Ali Act. Turki has been seen conversing with the judges, which is unprofessional. Turkey has been seen talking to the corners or something in the Sherazz, a dumbass fight. He's been up out of his seat. Now, you know, those of you that cover fights, let's just say we was in the corner of one of those fighters, and during the fight, we walking up there we're walking up there to the edge of the apron and trying to yell some instructions. I'm not saying you can't yell instructions to the fighter, your fighter. Use this from a seated position, but to get up out of your chair and go around and speak through the ropes. Hey, tell the photographer, hey, slide over, man. Slide, man. I'm trying to talk to my fighter. It just won't happen. You know why? Because the commission will warn you and the referee will warn you. But that hasn't been the case with Turkey. Now we have this claim. We have this design that somehow, some way, it's been said that certain fighters, and the remarkable part about it is that it seems like it's black fighters. Are you with me? What does ring size have to do with Shakur? Somebody please tell me. What does ring size have to do with Shakur Stevenson? If the art is called the sweet science, internal to every bit of criteria of the sweet science, every ingredient, every spice, every season, every piece of film footage that we watch over the decades, you're trying to tell me fighters wasn't able to move at their leisure? They wasn't able to move at their leisure and punch and box. They wasn't able to shift positions, stances. They wasn't able to create angles. But now all of a sudden, we want to limit the spear. The spear being, you want to put a circle, because the ring is called a squared circle. It used to be a circle, but it's a square. But yet it seems like they're trying to now bring a circle back, very small. And they're trying to say, hey, we're going to give you, let's just say an 18-foot ring, which is way smaller than a 22 or 24-foot, right? But we're going to bring you back with our complaining and frustration of certain fighters like William Skull, who was in there with Canelo Alvarez. We're going to bring you back for this small little transparent circle, and we're going to leave it up to the discretion of the referee to basically pay close attention to if you're running. That's what we're going to do. We're going to say, it's time for us to put our foot down with these black fighters and force them to stand in there and bang it out and have a Blaxican style. We want them to have a Blaxican style. We want them to be close range, close quarters. And see, the wild part about this, I remember saying this before. I remember putting it out there that boxers don't have a retirement plan. Boxers don't get a pension when they knock the gloves. Now, we have individuals who are pretty much paying fighters big money, but yet they're trying to say, oh, I want the fights to be more entertaining. We witnessed Turki Al-Sheikh put on 3 fight cards, and there were fights going the distance. What does that have to do with a small ring? If these fighters are fighting in the clinch and just pity patting because you wanted to go 12 rounds, what does a small ring have to do with it? Do you see the play? What does a small ring have to do with it? We can't put this dang stigma on black fighters and saying, oh, it's a no running. And some of you black content creators want to go ahead and trot off with it. It doesn't make any sense. You narrow the ring size, but yet it seems like fights are going the distance because somebody somewhere, in private said, I want you to entertain the crowd. I'm paying you good money to entertain the crowd. Knocking them out in 5 rounds ain't entertaining the crowd, okay? So I want y'all to go in there and pretty much put on an entertainer, give me a show. Shakur is not the fighter. No, 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 no. He's not the poster child for running. No, no, no. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. We're not going to place the poster child on Shakur Stevenson saying this is the reason why 18-foot ring should be. We can't put it. We're not going to put it on Devin Haney. We're not going to do it. This man fought Kambosos at close quarters. He fought JoJo close quarters. He fought Jorge Linares close quarters. Lomachenko close quarters. I hear people talking about, when you go out here and you hear people attempting to talk boxing in barbershops, they know not what they say. They have no idea. Yes, Shakur was freaking levitating a little bit, in the De Los Santos fights. And it looked bad. It did. But he's not the poster child for running. He didn't run no more than Jermell Charlo. You know what I'm saying? He did not even come close if you want to stamp that running to William School. It seems like the fighters that give you the inside fighting that you look for, you don't appreciate. I think with Turki Al-Sheikh, he's trying to reduce the ring size for his own benefit to try to change boxing, to try to change the way certain fighters are moving through boxing. We see these fighters getting multiple division championships. But I find it quite maniacal when all of a sudden ring size reduction comes into the conversation and you want to specify fighters who are looking the same shade of skin color. Because back in the day, they used to say that, some fighters, the black fighters don't like to be hit. They like to be very elusive, defensive. They want to hit and not get hit. And that's what, they say boxing was for, right? You hear people always have these boxing documentaries on these fighters who became punch drunk. These fighters who took a lot of damage. Israel Vasquez, the late Israel Vasquez. Shout out to that warrior. I remember, he took so much damage on his left eye, I believe. It was his left eye. He came back too early and they was telling him, no, don't come back don't come back. It's too early. This is going to be long-standing damage if you come back now in a fight, another tough fight like this. He didn't listen. He had to get paid. He wanted the money. And then in his retirement, he ended up losing his eye. But we can't sit up here and say, fighters are running. It's been times where, when I was at a Jahad Tucker fight, I felt like, that ring looked awful small in Oklahoma. Are they doing that for Ribisi? I mean, is this somebody else here that this ring? I mean, you have to really start peeling the layers back. Like when a fighter gets a small ring on multiple occasions, who are they trying to prove a point to? Why all of a sudden fighters are fighting in smaller rings as if it's to say, oh, this will turn up the excitement value. No, it's not going to turn up the excitement value because we've witnessed 3 of Turkey's cards, and we was happy that a monster Inoue from Japan, supposedly on a Sunday, saved the weekend. How was that? How can Monster fight on a Sunday, get dropped, and he supposedly was the most exciting fight because he selected a fight like that? He selected a fight like that. He selected the fight Cardenas like that, bro. Every fighter has a certain dynamic of power. Every fighter has a certain dynamic of speed. Every fighter has a certain dynamic of technical skills, power, lateral movement. Everybody is different. Every fighter is different. But to now say we want a ring reduction and to have it come out that Turkey said the ring is going to shrink as the fight go along. Now, I will give you my response to that. If you want to turn this into cockfighting, right? If you want to turn this into cockfighting, then you're going to get a cockfighting type of crowd that's going to say, hey, I can watch this in the comfort of my own home. I don't need to go to and watch this, all this clenching and holding, because a fighter is not going to go in there knowing that boxing doesn't have a retirement plan and they don't have power. Or let's just say they have power. Let's just say the fighter has power. His opponent may not have the same amount of power. So you think in sparring, they don't train you how to hold, how to clinch, so you can take less power on the inside, how to tie up a fighter that has significant more power than you do. If you want to shrink the ring size and think you're not gonna see a whole lot of clinching and holding, and now you want to blame them, oh, the referee, come on, ref, deduct a point for holding. No. See, now you're going to get people to absolutely walk away from boxing and say, this is bullshit. And look, I try to tell you all, the hocus pocus of boxing, the magic show is on stage more than Vegas. I know David Copperfield, does a lot of shows over there in Vegas. But I'm telling you, when you have an open-ended sport and you allow people like Turkey Al-Sheikh to come over here and put on talent shows, that's what he's doing. He's putting on talent shows. He's giving you the money, and slowly but surely, he's telling and dictating what you want to happen, what he wants to happen. And if you want to do some or put some information out there that the ring is going to get smaller and all that, listen, man, them fighters ain't stupid. Shakur is not stupid. Just for this to even be a topic of discussion, that somehow, some way, a ring will be manipulated to reduce its size as the fight go along, to prove what to the fans? To prove what? Well, what are we proving to the fans, bro? We're proving to the fans what exactly by reducing the ring size to force certain fighters to fight. Now, even Times Square ring was small, right? But yet they complained about how Devin's approach to the fight was boring. But it's just proved to you that you can have a smaller ring, but yet get the same effect that you complain about or you want to change. Every fighter cuts off the ring different. You know what I'm saying? Every fighter cuts off the ring different. I don't know if you noticed that, but not every fighter cuts off the ring the same. We've seen that with Canelo Alvarez and Skull. Canelo said, you know what? Yeah, they told me the money hit already. I'm not going to chase him around the ring like that. I'm not going to freaking break a sweat chasing Skull around. I'm just going to catch him here and there, throw some punches and get my title back and keep it moving. I'm not going to do this. I already got my money in my account. Why I chase him? I know chase him. Why? Then at the end, he puts his hands out because he know he did very little to make the fight exciting. And when Skull did, dip in for a counter shot, or you could say, to basically, try to work a little offense, some of those shots he landed good. But then he'll just automatically go back to the unicycle and pedal his ass around the outside of the ring on the ropes. Yes. It wasn't fun. Shout out to my guy, the News by Shaw News Sauce Experience in the building. Salute to you. I see you on deck, man. Marlon King Boxing in the building. What's good with it? I appreciate you, man. He said Shakur Stevenson about to fight in that Jahad Tucker ring. But hey, what do I know? Jealous fan zone. Yeah, man. that's what I was mentioning. When it came down to the reduction in ring, I mean, what is the proving? What is the point? What is this? The projection on the ring size, and like I said before, we act like fighters would not clinch and hold. What are you gonna do? Take part of they paycheck? Shout out to Don Vaughn in the building. It's a pay to the beast, then tank the beast also. They said skills, grit, and determination pays the bills. Shakur Stevens has all the above. You know how people want to, make it out to say that this fighter don't have this or this fighter did that. How many, what's the statute of limitations on fighters who are movers and boxers? That's what the sweet science is about. It seems like we should just, I'm going to put it out there. From now on, I'm calling the sport the science. You know why I'm calling it the science? Because it seems to be nothing sweet about it anymore. What used to be sweet about the science of boxing, you have so many people that's out here complaining about it. You have people like Turkey Al-Sheikh that's saying, you know what, I have the influence to shut down some of what you consider to be traditional. You consider this to be traditional, fundamentals. This is what you consider. It's not sweet no more because they're trying to basically remove all the sweetness. Sweet Pea Pernell Whitaker, known for his defense. Now, if you get somebody that's avoiding punches, eluding punches, maybe a 5-punch combination like that, Turkey coming off to me like he want to tell the ref, hey ref, he didn't throw no punches back. He was just dancing in there, man. It's not a challenge show, man. Come on. Warn him, ref. Deduct the point, ref. See, I don't think a lot of people are understanding it. Turkey is paying these refs too. Yeah. I know you're gonna say, well, he's not a promoter. He's not this. That should be the commission. But look, come on. I mean, I try to tell y'all all the time, man. It's a lot of super grimy stuff that goes on in this sport that people just don't want to talk about it. They don't want to. We at a point where it used to be PBC, Al Heyman, the ghost of the boxing, but that's just PBC was never a promotion. But yet, whenever they brought up his name, people were saying, "Oh, it's because of Al Heyman, the Aliac, because he was trying to be a manager, advisor, and all that." They thought that man was a promoter, a manager, and an advisor, right? Only because he was attached to TGB. If it would have been TGB Promotions, then I think the conversation would have been different. It was PBC, which was string Premier Boxing Championships, but that wasn't a promotion. But Turkey, man, they've been sitting back and they've been watching. And when his name pops up, all they talk about is the fights that he's putting on, but he ain't a promoter. When his name pops up, they talk about how much money he paying the fighters. They talk about, oh, is this fight going to be in Riyadh or is it going to be in the U.S.? That's what comes up when it's Turkey. You know what I'm saying? People don't even know what's his title. All they know is the man is writing checks. And then he's coming out. Yes, excuse me. On Shaw News, I just wanted to let you know, yeah, we're going to go from 18 to 16. You need to let your people know. Okay? And don't worry about the money. The check will be there, but we just trying to get a little bit more excitement, make it a little bit more dangerous. You know what I'm saying? That's what we trying to do here. We trying to turn boxing into an action movie. I mean, come on, bro. Come on, man. Yes, indeed, Big Turk for president. She says, coined the phrase Big Turk. Hey, man, Big Turk out here doing what he do. Ain't he, MKB? He's doing what he's doing. People don't know what his title is. Turkey Al-Sheikh, he said the ring will shrink as the fight go along. I bet they ain't gonna run no more. I'm like, who are you talking about? Who are you talking about? We done seen fighters of all ethnicities, if they're hurt, they tend to stray away from fighting on the inside or until they get the cobwebs out. It's just a natural way. Humanistically, that's just the way it is sometimes when you get hurt. They didn't say that about Caleb Plant when he was moving around. Canelo Alvarez, I can go even further back when Caleb was actually winning the fight, but he was boxing on the outside. He was moving on the outside the whole fight against Figgin Boots. I was at that fight in Nashville. Caleb Plant was moving around, but they call it boxing when Caleb does it. They call it defense when Caleb, he has the right to move around. This is style. That's Caleb Plant's style right there. That's what that is. You're not really paying attention. I don't think you watch boxing enough. That's his style. Come on, man. Someone like Shakur Devin does it. It's not a style. It's a bad habit. That's what they want you to believe. It's a bad habit when those fighters do it. So the way we're going to fix that, we're going to start reducing these rings with the ring size. We're going to reduce the center square. Okay. And also we're going to put the word out there that referees should pay more attention to fighters when they're moving too much. Wow. That's crazy, ain't it? I'm starting to think this is Indiana Jones and the Turkey of Doom. Good one, man. But see, the one thing about the Doom part for Turkey, I haven't seen where it's Doom yet. Turkey is trying to act like there's some mudslides, and he's trying to act like there's some tremors going on, and it's about to be in the right. He gives you all the signs now. This just recently done. What did he say? Ring shrinkage. Why would he do that? Matter of fact, dog. Hold on for a second, bro. Let me put it up on here on the big screen. Okay. Let me put it up on the big screen, man. So y'all can see what we're talking about. So, if you're just passing through, right? You may not know what this is about. Let me put it up there. Because this is Turkey. When I tried to tell you he put out false information about the Crawford and Canelo fight, people didn't really care. They was just laughing and saying, "Oh, the fight is canceled." I said, "Man, that fight ain't canceled. That fight ain't canceled, man. Look at this right here." Turkey say we have a surprise for Shakur on Saturday. A ring that shrinks as the fight goes on. Shakur says he's ready to deliver a beatdown of William Cepeda. And I know the Mexican is prepared for the challenge. The Mexican is prepared for the challenge of the biggest fight of his life. What does one have to do with the other? The ring shrinking. Is this frivolous information? Who knows with Turkey? Who knows, bro? You're like, he's putting that up there. And I'm like, why, man? Why does the ring have to shrink and turn this into a barbaric? Turn this into something that may, give you a outcome like Sebastian Fundora and Tim Tszyu. Give you an outcome like Joe Cordina. I mean, even the outcome like Jojo Diaz when he was fighting Tevin Farmer. When they get them cuts over their eye and their eyes hanging down, because you want a smaller ring, right? But you have to understand these are boxers with gloves. So if you reduce the space size, I'm pretty sure the more clenching is going to be, there also is going to be some contact via cranium damage. Where when those cranium come together, you're talking about possibly cutting somebody up over their brow, their forehead, under their eye, all that. And then we have to see, how good is this referee? Is he going to let the fight? Is the doctor going to let the fight go on? So we want to turn into a sport that boxing fans tend to do what again? They tend to criticize. Boxing fans tend to criticize when there's headbutting, when there's a lot of holding and clenching on the inside. Boxing fans don't like that. They say they're boring. But peep this out too. On a where is it? Let me see, where is it? Okay, in bare knuckle fighting, they say fouls, as implied earlier, with the development of official rule sets and regulations. Never mind. That's not what I wanted. Hold on one quick second. I just have to come back to it. I was trying to find some information on the fly. I just have to come back to it. Okay. Bare knuckle fighting ring is 22 feet, period. Okay. It's 22 feet, period. 22-foot ring, period. It's actually a circle. That's a bare knuckle fighting ring, regardless of what their rules are. That's not the whole point of me talking about that. Their ring size is 22 foot. It never changes. It never changes. It never freaking changes. So why a sport that has basically made a rise and still considered to be in the silhouette of mainstream professional boxing, even though it's professional bare knuckle boxing, you know what I'm saying? Why do they have rules that are set in stone, and they're stand by those rules, and they're not trying to really, overturn the freaking the carriage? They ain't trying to go ahead and turn it into a carnival or a sideshow. They have the rules as they have them. They're not, turned into like certain rules like the big three have, special rules. No, they're keeping it the same. 22-footer. But with boxing, they're all of a sudden trying to say that, yeah, so-and-so's, he's a big deal in boxing. So therefore, we're not going to really make no complaints about what he's doing in the ring. We're not going to make any complaints about it, because we want him to do business with us so we can continue to fill our pockets. That's what Turkey, the power of Turkey Al-Sheikh, Big Turk. Turk been watching too many gladiator movies. Are you not entertaining? Hey man, when boxing, a non-regulated sport, allows people to come in like Turkey with the money that he has, the financial backing for which he's able to support these fights, he's going to be able to do some things that nobody is going to talk about. Not in a negative way, especially if you have to deal with him. Blue said, I don't think they went with the smaller ring because two boxers didn't agree with the ring size, but we will see. I don't think so either. So if it was two fighters not agreeing to the ring size, right? Why isn't that out here? Why aren't mainstream media talking about the two fighters that didn't agree to a ring size? You trying to tell me they can talk about everything else, but they don't want to talk about two fighters not agreeing to the ring size? Shout out to just a guy in the building. What's good, man? Anyone but Shakur, he's a runner, he's a track star. Yeah, man. No. It's a different type of fighting. That's called triad combat sports. Triad is fought in a triangular type ring, and you can clinch behind the head and punch your opponent at the same time. That's called triad combat. Bare knuckle is fought in an actual spear, circular ring, 22 foot. Okay. And, you have to toe the line, put your foot on the line to start the fight. Now, this is with bare knuckle. If boxing was doing something like that, it wouldn't be too much of a, a shocking awe moment. Like, why are they doing that? Why are they doing that? But to pretty much put out there that we got a surprise for Shakur is saying, he said, we have a surprise for Shakur. You're basically saying the design for which you're reducing this ring size has something to do with him. So are you for boxing, or you just here to make examples out of certain fighters, man? I don't get it just yet. I really don't get it, man. I don't get why be shrinking for Shakur as if you're showing favoritism to William Cepeda. Now you want to talk about corruption, showing blatant favoritism for a fighter to say, I want this to be something special. Now you got to say, well, how far is Turkey's reach? Is it all the way to September? Is Canelo and Crawford having these freaking conversations about the size of the ring and what it need to be for Turkey's pleasure? Because Turkey looking at it, I'm paying $200 million. If I want that ring to be 9 by 9, you know what I'm saying, with broken glass and thumbtacks, you know what I'm saying? I want a fence to be around the ring, barbed wire. I want to bring back Mick Foley. I want this to be WWE. I'm gonna get with my friend Nick Khan, and we're gonna try to turn this into a boxing / WWE extravaganza. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's over the top, bro. That's over the top, man. If you want boxers to say take it or leave it, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put y'all in a 16-foot ring and see who's the baddest man, who's gonna come out. I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy, man. It shines a light on the WCS, in my opinion. Them promoters are in it. They're bottom line, but Big Turk is in it to see the elite champions with Moxley fight their competition more than times. The BYB Extreme Fighting Series uses a unique triangular shaped ring called a trigon. Yeah, they came in after the triad. Its smallest ring surface in combat sports, the triad 3 sides are 20 foot each, totaling 60 feet. Yeah, for sure. Good info. Good info. Good info. Ring size gloves, all that's supposed to be in agreement of the terms. Hey, man, I don't think Turkey, cares about the tradition. They say, hey, I'll leave that up to the commission and the fighters and they team to get the gloves. I don't care nothing about no gloves. Turkey wants to go in there and like somebody said earlier, are you not entertained? I think Turkey want to be sitting over ringside and when the camera pan over to him, he want to get up out of his seat and stare into the ring. Like when you giving out this much money, I mean, you're gonna have some ego. that's in between those freaking bills too. It's going to be a level of arrogance because this man is paying these fighters the most they ever made. So of course he's going to put some surprises in it, some little treats. I'm curious to know how the ring is going to shrink as the fight go along. And what is the final shrinkage is going to be? If the ring is going to start off with 18 and it's going to get smaller, I would like to see how that's possible. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm not saying it's impossible. I just want to know the dynamic for which you're going to say the ring is going to get smaller. And the whole purpose is why you're placing this umbrella on Shakur. Just so you can, I don't know, man. You know, I really don't want to get too deep into it because it's almost like Turkey knows that Shakur hands are the way that they are. So for you to shrink the size, you don't really care about his hands at all. You're pretty much saying, man, you know, I'm paying you the money to go in there and fight. You go in there and fight. I don't want to hear all that other stuff you're talking. You know, you got to look at that too. Yeah, the octagon is 30 feet. And look, they ain't up here trying to change the freaking dynamics of the cage and the octagon. They're not changing that. They're not trying to turn that into a circus. Hey, man, you know, we got two of the baddest fighters in the freaking middleweight division. You know, we're going to make this interesting. Oh, man, yes, we're going to put fire above. We're going to reduce the octagon size to a cool 19 feet. You know, no. You're going to get fighters who have their own way of fighting. Some are fast, some are slow starters. But one thing you are taught in any freaking training is how to clinch, how to hold. You know, not everybody can fight on the inside. Turkey shrinking the ring size, does it make both fighters? Does it force them to, you know, go in their bag and force their team to freaking teach them how to clinch and hold? Is that going to be something that make us smile? If we're the consumers, are we going to be jumping up for joy and say, oh man, I love this right here. Oh, they're holding again. I love it. It takes me back to the good old, you know, boots on the ground when everybody's dancing and the electric slide. Even before that, I like that. That's pretty cool. As a matter of fact, did you bring your boots? Yeah, I want to go out there and do some electric slide mixed in with some boots on the ground where the fans at. Make sure y'all remember to hit the like. I appreciate you, man. Boxing's already WWE in the year 2025. I don't see it as a WWE just yet. I'm not saying you're wrong. You know, examining certain fights. But this ring. Now, this would be the ultimate, though, in my opinion. There, just a guy. You know, if this ring shrinks by as long as the fight goes, now that would be a WWE moment. That would change boxing. You know, like I said, I call it the science. It's no longer to call it the sweet science, because the sweet part of boxing, it's not even respected anymore. They're trying to actually rewrite the sport, not to take criteria out and reinsert it with new improved criteria to help the sport. They're basically trying to sponge the traditional fundamental techniques, you know, stuff that made the science sweet. Defense, offense, switch stance, you know, different styles, boxing IQ, how a fighter responds, you know, just the whole technical aspect of it. You know, you get some people some fighters that are brawlers, you know. You say, dang, they get away with that. They're really good at what they do. Like McCumbee. McCumbee had that hard right hand, man. That thing has some dynamite to it. Caleb had to make adjustments. He took the fight from, you know, a distance near the center of the square to the ropes. He took it to the ropes and started boxing them on the inside. That was a good move. That's what I consider the sweet signs, especially from a fighter like Stephen Fulton, who was fighting the distance and been known to box, and he fought a whole different style when he fought Angelo Leo. Fought an in quarters fight against Brandon Figueroa. That's the sweet signs to me. But that doesn't mean the consumers want to see every fighting on the inside, man. No, we don't want to see that. They doing fish market promotion moves like this is club show. Man, hey, maybe you got an answer to, why all of a sudden people are just, capitulating like this. They're just rubbing turkey toes, man. Unlimited massage. We know what Shakur Stevenson said to Turkey, but it just seems like now all of a sudden Turkey is showing us, if you attempt to embarrass me or you embarrass me in public and you need for me to accept you back and forgive you, it will come with reprimand. And I think that's what we see with Turkey, man. Imagine Big Turk ringside clapping like a seal. He would be entertained when a Crawford boxes Canelo ears off. Hey, man, that's one boxer that I believe is not concerned about Canelo saying on smaller ring size, hey, Canelo was taking a shot too. Canelo was taking a shot, man. He was pretty much trying to put it out there as if Crawford was going to run, even though we haven't seen Crawford run in one fight. He was trying to jump on that bandwagon too with 3 wheels. For real, Canelo was trying to say, hey, Turkey, reduce size, reduce ring size. Why? He says just trolling is going to start at 18-foot in the phone booth. But good luck with that. Good luck with that, because the smaller the size, and then there's going to come some elbows. It's going to be some headbutting. Go right ahead. Go right ahead. Blame it on the alcohol. Blame it on Shakur. Hey, man, I want to blame it on boxing not being a regulated sport and having an open door policy for people with a little bit of money and an understanding with the respectable connections, enough connections to the point where they can, make their presence known in the sport. They're able to move around. Boxing allows people, like Turkey, to come out of nowhere and move around, yo. They don't have to really have no structure. Like it was so messed up. They can't even force Turkey to any freaking guidelines. There's no guidelines to force him to not do this, to not do that. There's no guidelines out there. You can't hold him by the Ali Act, because we all know that he has much more of an influence behind the scenes, but we don't know if he's a promoter, manager, or advisor. It's funny how that was always a topic of discussion when it came to Al Heyman. But now U.S. fans, all they do is talk about how much money a fighter is getting paid. Every time you turn around, they say when it's a Turkey fight, how much money they're getting paid. But yet, if the fight is over here in the U.S., you know what they talk about? How many pay-per-views did they sell? Oh, they only did this. They only did that. Man, I'm so sick and tired of hearing it, bro. I'm sick and tired of hearing that. When Turkey has fights, they ain't talking about no pay-per-view numbers. But when the fight's over here in the U.S., they want to talk about pay-per-view numbers. And then if it's not, and then you hear somebody automatically say something like, oh, they only did this. That's all they did. Man, they can't sell. Not understanding that times has changed, man. It's hard to say that a fight will sell when everybody has their own little plan, man. They have their own little plan what they want to do with their money. And not every fighter, not every consumer out there want to spend money on a fight card unless it's just absolutely extravagant. Like September is going to be extravagant, man. And people looking at it like that is something I want to be a part of right there. I got to be a part of that right there, please. That's going to be extravagant. That's going to be unique to boxing. This is going to be at this moment, this is going to be one of the only fights that we've ever seen in boxing history where it's 2 pound for pound fighters, 4 division world champions, 2-time undisputed. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of heavy hardware. There's the safe deposit box is heavy. There's a lot of accolades. If you was to balance it out on the scales of achievement, man, it's amazing. This is the first time a fight has ever happened on this scale. This is the first time ever, yo. The first time ever. It's just amazing. It's unbelievable. I'm not gonna hold you. It's unbelievable. Another 2 pound for pound fighters, same amount of divisions of the championships, multiple divisions. I mean, multiple championships. It's just the right time. It's just the right time. Both fighters in their 30s. It's the right time. It's not a fighter like Pacquiao who's coming back out of being inactive. This is the perfect time for this fight. And I'm definitely gonna put it out there. It's gonna be some controversy in this fight. It is. It's gonna be some controversy that they need to draw the fans back for a rematch. That's how they're gonna milk. It happens every so often, yo. I believe it's gonna be controversial. I'm not trying to go into this, trying to do no negative predictions, but I just feel a fight and the volume of its importance, historically to the boxing annals. I'm just saying to myself, there has to be some controversy to this fight. But then I turn the corner and say, well, it's Dana White. Dana White has had some big fights in the UFC, and they went off as they supposed to. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, man. It wasn't no draw when it's supposed to be a clear victor. I'm hoping the same goes for September, and we're not going to sit up here and be like, man, I knew this was going to happen. I should have bet on that draw. Clearly, it's not a draw. But just to get the fighters, just to get the consumers to come back and say, do y'all want to see a rematch? Was this not epic? Was this not the best fight? We want to see a clear winner. We want to see a victor. We want to see the best man left standing. That's what we want to see. For Shakur Stevenson, I salute him. I hope he goes in there and prove Turkey wrong. Regardless of him trying to, reduce the ring and say Shakur Stevenson is a runner. Hey, Turkey don't care nothing about his hands. So, for him, for Shakur to go in there and say he's going to stop William Zepeda, that ring size reduction may be a blessing in disguise, y'all. I'm going to be honest with you. It may be a blessing in disguise if you look at it. But that's my hour, man. Y'all hold it down. Appreciate y'all for pulling up. As always, y'all continue to support the channel. Until next time, I'm out.